Oh, good morning, Ben, and we appreciate the time always here on ESPN Chicago. Did you see anything a little differently on tape after reviewing things from what you saw live yesterday?
But not a whole lot different than how I felt after the game. We have to play cleaner, which really that's been what we've been harping on for the last few weeks. We've been getting by with some of these wins by relying on those takeaways, and so we knew there'd be a time that there'd be a week or two that we don't get the takeaways, and we got to come through and play a cleaner brand of football. And so we didn't get that done yesterday. I thought we beat ourselves probably more often than not.
Yeah, that was my next question. It's a delineation, losing a game and getting beat. Which one of those do you identify as the right tone
Well,
to strike?
yeah, I mean, I give that team a lot of credit. We knew what we were going to get from them. It's a prideful group that they've really made their trademark on a physical brand of football. And when I looked at the tape, it wasn't. I didn't feel like we were being out physical this game or out efforted. That really was not the issue. I thought our execution could be cleaner. I thought our discipline could be cleaner. Alignment, assignment, technique. It's really the basics, the fundamentals there of the game that we got to clean up. And yeah, you do that against a good opponent and take their record out of it. That is a good opponent, and so you can't do that and expect to win in this league.
Yeah, I agree. And, sometimes people just look at statistics and say, oh, bottom of the barrel in the defensive category, for example, you got your backup quarterback in. But like all good teams, like you yourself, you make adjustments week to week that shine it up a little bit, polish it up, and it could change that quickly. And that's the case with a lot of good teams.
Yeah, man, they had guys out, we had guys out. End of the day, that really doesn't make a lick of difference. We got to play hard, and we got to play for 60 minutes, and we got to play for each other throughout that time. And we just, like I said, we didn't get it done.
Maddening to watch. I would examine just the sense of the untimely penalties, of course, and the red zone execution here over the last several weeks. I know you keep beating that drum. I'm sure it's being heard. How does it get fixed?
Yeah, and that's where we talked about in the locker room after the game. I mentioned it at the podium, and we'll talk about it again in the team meeting here this afternoon. That it takes more than just the coaches saying it. We got to bring that vision to life. And so we're here as coaches. We're all in this thing together. We're going to help support. We're gonna challenge these guys, and we're gonna be along there with them every step of the way. But I think it would go a long way if we had just a little bit more ownership in that locker room to take the bull by the horns here, so that we do get this cleaned up. We got a number of guys that are leaders on this team, and I think now that it's bit us in the rear end with a loss, I think it opens your eyes a little bit more. Okay, well, yeah, we do need to clean this up if we want to get to where we want to go.
I know people talk about player-led teams are important eventually, right? This is a new bunch with a new coach, new staff. What does that look like to you? What does that look like to you? Because you're alluding that you want some of these the leaders on the team. They could be maybe not even captains that emerge as leaders. Things change over the course of a season. More voices are heard. How do you envision that looking?
Well, we've got a number of guys that have played football at a high level in this league, and I think that's where it always starts. Our players voted for captains because they think highly of them and they respect them. That's certainly where it starts. As a new coaching staff, you come in here and you got a way that you want to do things. You have a vision for what it's going to look like, a standard that you're raising, and I think we're at the point now, midway through the season, that these guys understand what's going to be asked of them, and so now that they understand that, there's less, hey, what does the coach want? It's more, hey, how can we make this a little bit better ourselves? And like I said, that ownership of it is going to go a long way for us. But we've got a ton of guys in this locker room, whether it's a second, third contract guy that's been around this league for a while and knows what good football looks like, or like you alluded to, there's some younger players that are really talented that they're trying to find their voice, and when they play well, I think it gives them that platform to stand up and speak out.
When the penalties happen like they have, is it sometimes the opposition that creates those potential penalties as much as anything, or do you just look at it as, this is on my guys. We gotta fix this.
Yeah, those are self-inflicted. The pre-snap things that those are on us. It's all about discipline. It doesn't matter that we're on the road. Doesn't matter that we're at home. None of that matters. The pre-snap penalties are the ones that I have an issue with, that the coaching staff has an issue with. Post-snap penalties, those are going to happen. The offensive holdings, the DPIs, that's the cost of doing business. That's the cost of competing, and those are the ones that we can live with at the end of the day. But the pre-snap ones, those are what we have to clean up.
Jeff Joniak with Ben Johnson, head coach of the Chicago Bears on ESPN Chicago this morning. What would you like about the day Roma Dunze put together?
He did a nice job. I thought he showed up. He made some physical catches there. Give their cover players a lot of credit because they are tight coverage players. They have a lot of talent in the back end, and I thought Rome competed its tail off throughout that day. And so there are a few balls that Caleb put right on the money there, and Rome came down with it. And so yeah, I think he had over 100 yards, and certainly it was one of our more explosive days on offense, believe it or not, despite the lack of points. I think we ended up with 11 explosives with how we calculate it. And so, which is good. 8 or more is normally our number there. And I think Rome had a big part to do with that.
All 7 of his catches a first down, by the way, first time, the most in his career. So those you like those chain movers for sure. With Caleb Williams, what is the most difficult layer or chapter? I'm trying to frame this in a certain way of executing the offense in a manner that will reveal consistency in a new system.
Yeah, I think the thing is, you look at it in this particular game, and yeah, we didn't score the points. We didn't do enough to win. The stat line, no touchdowns, one interception. I got it. He played better this game than I think he had the previous 2. When you look at it, all 60 minutes. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but I actually came away from watching the tape this morning encouraged that we took a step in the right direction here this week. And I know some people, it's hard to maybe rationalize that because the result wasn't there. But yet I saw tangible growth from him. He's working his ass off. I don't even know if I can say that, Jeff. I apologize, but he is. He is. It's the truth. He's working his tail off, and so I think this thing's going to continue to slow down for him. I think it did to a degree in this game. He did have a couple mistakes that we'll learn from. But no, I came away more encouraged watching the tape than maybe I felt coming off the field yesterday.
Some of those mistakes that he learned from, what do you think they will be?
Yeah, more situational awareness than anything else. I think back to before halftime, he does a great job recognizing man coverage and scrambling and ends up getting 20 plus yards there. I'd like him to go out of bounds, save us the timeout so that we can use that later on in that drive before half. That's one example there. I think we can look back at the interception and possibly think of a better way to handle that one, particularly in a backed up situation. We certainly don't want to turn the ball over ever, but we guaranteed them points by throwing that one there, and so that was a huge turning point in that game. But all in all, I think he did a pretty good job of giving us a chance throughout when you're down by multiple scores and your running game's not clicking like it had. I think we were 42% efficient in the running game, which is below where it had been the previous 2 weeks. You rely a little bit more on that passing game, and it was better than the previous week, but yet it still wasn't quite where we needed it to be.
Defensive line, I tabulated 29 tackles by the defensive line combined with solos and assists, 22 by Dio, Montez, and Jervon. That's an impressive number. So that speaks to, many hats on the ball to stop that particular running back in King Henry. Still, there were some other carries in the game that did bite you at 7 yards a carry with the other ones. How did you feel they played? Because that's a extraordinary number of tackles for a defensive line in one game.
Yeah, I thought our defensive line played really well. We struck blocks, we shed blocks. I kept talking about the type of physical ball game that this was going to be, and I thought they answered the bell from that regard. I thought that they did a great job. 22 he's a beast. He is a beast, and he gives a lot of teams problems. And I think we kept them under 4 yards of carry, which is we're pretty good containing them. Our issues on the defensive side stem more from eye discipline in coverage more so than anything else. And so I think the defensive line did step up and play a pretty solid game.
Can this secondary weather the storm? Assuming that, well, we know Kyler's on IR. We don't know what the status of Tyreek will be, but just these are your guys right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I got a lot of confidence in these guys. They've been around either through training camp or early in the season now, and so we know what they're capable of doing. And I know that DA is going to put them in good spots to make some plays for us. And we'll have a tough matchup next week now. Not looking ahead too quickly, but Chase and Higgins are a couple of the best in the league, and Flacco's playing at a high level. So yeah, we'll have our work cut out for us, but yeah, I'm confident that these guys will get the job done.
Yeah, you took the baton. I'll wrap it up with a quick peek at the Bengals. You mentioned Jamari's getting an extraordinary number of targets with Joe Flacco in there. But I guess the run game is something you got to really closely look at here too, because Chase Brown and Samaje Perine did a nice job here in the last couple of weeks together as a tandem.
Yeah, they seem like they're scoring some points on offense right now, and so I know uh, our offense we need to get our stuff together, and if it comes down to one of those back and forths like it seemed like their game last week was, then we need to be ready to do that.
All right, Ben, we'll let you go. Appreciate the time as always. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN 1000.
Thank you, Jeff.